Welcome to the QB Chronicles, an SMU football podcast with Garrett Gilbert and Kyle Padron. Join former SMU quarterbacks Garrett and Kyle as they break down each week's game, offering insights from their own experiences on the field. In addition to game analysis, we'll also bring you special episodes featuring interviews with past and present SMU players, sharing their stories and perspectives. Whether you're a diehard Mustang fan or just love football, this podcast is your go-to source for all things SMU football. Pony up!
Welcome back to the QB Chronicles. I'm Kyle Padron, joined by, as always, good buddy Garrett Gilbert. We are feeling a little sorry for ourselves, looking some wins. Ponies went on the road to Wake Forest this week, and really just, quite honestly, laid an egg. I don't think it was the best performance, really, in one phase specifically on the offensive side of the ball. I thought the defense played well enough to win, but offensively we couldn't really get out of our own way and couldn't sustain anything. But we'll let GG offer his feedback and his recap of the game before I go too far. But GG, what's going on, man?
Oh, KP, you're right. Licking wounds is a good way of looking at it. It was frankly hard to watch, and almost hard to explain. I mean, I think let's start with the positives. The defense played their best game of the year by far and away. They were very, very good on all fronts until the very last play of the game. Bend but don't break, 2 red zone turnovers. I think Wake Forest ended up outgaining us after that last play, which is unfortunate because the defense deserved to, at least have some sort of bragging rights there. They played great, but obviously, you lose as a team. But overall, by far and away their best game. I thought they were very good all over the field. We created turnovers, tackled well. They did a good job. They shut down a good running back, held him to probably a season low in terms of rushing. Now to the rough stuff. That was very, very hard to watch on offense. And it was you could kind of tell from the get-go. Wake Forest was playing downhill aggressively on defense. We didn't do a good job on offense, taking advantage of that and throwing the ball over the top of them. I thought Kevin was, I know he's dealing with an ankle, and I certainly don't want to I'm not past judgment. I mean, but I know he's having a hard time with his ankle right now, but he was not. Yep. He was involved in the running game against Clemson at big moments. He was not involved in the running game at all the other day. We didn't. Our offensive line sort of got pushed around, other than save for a few little runs. We lost Chris Johnson. TJ couldn't find any space. It was just very, very difficult to get anything going, and it didn't seem like anyone wanted to be the spark. Just kept on. If we just keep doing what we're doing, keep running, wide zone and throwing our screen passes, then something's eventually going to pop. And it just didn't. It was just not good all around. And I thought even, you can win these games on the road whenever you play badly in one phase, but not when you play badly in 2 phases. And I think even though the special teams ended up forcing a turnover on punt, we gave them the ball on like a 7 or 10-yard punt. We gave them the ball in field goal range. That turned into an easy field goal. It just looked like nobody wanted to push the envelope and get going, and that's how you end up losing football games.
Yep.
And then not to mention,
Wake dominated, from the defensive side of the ball. Go ahead.
Sorry, just not to mention, we had our kicker's been playing great, and then we have a missed field goal and a missed extra point that ended up, looking back, costing you. So, I mean, it was tough.
Yeah, I mean, going back, obviously special teams, that hurts. I think the extra point, I thought it got blocked. I could be wrong. But then, I mean, after –
it did get blocked, but I think it got blocked by an offensive lineman's back. It got blocked pretty low.
Got it. And that's typically on a kicker. Those extra points have to be up high enough to get over the line of scrimmage. When you drive the ball low, that's typically why you see blocked field goals on longer attempts, because you have to drive the football. And extra points, you want to get that ball up immediately, almost like a flop shot with your wedge. Yeah. But going back to the run game, man, we only averaged 2.7 yards per carry. And, we've talked about all season long being closer to that, 3.8, 4 yards a carry. And you mentioned the wide zone, man. It just seemed like at the point of attack, the offensive line was getting run by. Their linebackers were flowing to the football, avoiding blocks. And so I think the offensive line has a lot to learn from, and hopefully takes that 2.7 yards per carry personally. You got to find ways to motivate yourself. And frankly, offensively, as a fan, I'm embarrassed. I think if I were a player, I hope Sunday was a long day in the film room. Hopefully Monday, everybody's getting healthy. We've learned from those mistakes, and we're attacking this week with the big Miami team coming in. But I thought offensively, there's not really a whole lot to talk about. Kevin wasn't super efficient. He's dealing with that kind of nagging lower extremity ankle injury. Having dealt with that myself, that is challenging. I know you had some knee injuries and stuff like that. So those are hard to play through, but ultimately you're judged by the performance. And I don't think Kevin met the standard this week, and what we're accustomed to seeing from Kevin. Just not efficient throwing the ball, only 21 of 39. Really only one play over the top to RJ, which you called while we were, I was on the road with my daughter. You were texting me saying, let's take a shot, and finally got one. But, man, just not a whole lot there offensively. I think RJ was our leading receiver in yards, 2 for 51. Jordan had 4 catches for 21. Got a lot of guys touches, but all those, most of their catches are 2, 3, 4 yards a pop. No really explosive plays outside the one to RJ. So I think just looking at other stats, 4 of 17 on third down, that's horrendous.
Yeah, and a lot of them were like 3rd and 7s or 8s or 9s. I mean, it was not a time that we're like, hey, we feel good about getting 5 yards here and keeping the chains moving and keeping our defense, letting them get some rest because they were playing great.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the 3 turnovers, Kevin had a fumble, Kevin had a turnover or an interception, and then Jordan had the fumble as well. And 2 of those turnovers ultimately were, I think one was on the 14-yard line. I can't remember where the other one was, but, deep in their territory where it really puts our defense that is playing well, that's not getting a lot of rest, puts them in really difficult situations. And, holding this team to 13 points, I think Wake probably should have had, 25, 30 points that game. Just they had 2 turnovers late in the fourth quarter, fumbles in the red zone. I don't know, just not a lot that wows me from this game, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly, it's hard to sit here and harp on all the negativity, all the negatives for that much time. But it just looked kind of like, and I get it. I mean, you and I have both played 11 o'clock road games.
Coming off of a big win too.
Coming off of a big win on the road, then you got to travel back east again and do it over. And it's hard. It's not easy, but that's the job. And I think I should have realized this, but I didn't fully realize that, we forced 5 turnovers. Yeah.
We're plus 2 in the turnover margin.
Yeah. And when you force 5 turnovers, you should not lose a football game.
Yeah.
And
Rhett did say that. Rhett's post game, I think he mentioned, what was his quote? Obviously, he mentioned the defense played well, but I think I'm going to paraphrase here, but basically said it's really hard to lose a game when your defense plays that well. And I think he's right. Your defense played well enough to win that football game.
Yeah, we've done a lot of talking about the defense this year, and they stepped up on Saturday, and unfortunately the offense, and for the majority of the game, the special teams didn't hold up their end of the bargain. And so it's like you said, it's you're licking your wounds. Have to get back to work. Like you said, have a very good Miami team coming in. I would hope that each and every player on this team takes it upon themselves, to realize like that performance is not good enough, and it's not the standard that has been set. Certainly over the last couple of years at SMU. I mean, that was a very disappointing football game to watch on all fronts, and I think outside of handing the player of the game to our entire defense, who again played very well outside of one play at the end, and just so we talked through that one a little bit. What are you supposed to do there at the end of the game, KP? Whenever the ball is
knock it down.
He had 2 guys there, right? And there's one in front of him and one behind him, and the ball gets kind of fluttered up there, and the guy behind him He sits there waiting for the interception. You said it. Knock the ball down. We don't need interceptions in that situation. They don't do you any good. So just go bat the ball down, and then all you got to do is defend a Hail Mary, and the game's over. And so that's that one stung, because even after all of that, all of the poor offense we talked about, the defense forces a fumble in the low red. We have to get a first down in that situation. There's been two games this year where if we get first downs, the game is over. Baylor and this one, and both times we went 3 and out, or got one first down when we needed 2. I think in the case of the Baylor game, but got to find a way to stay on the field, and that's frankly where I was calling for it the whole game, but last week against Clemson, on gotta have it. We used to call them GTHI, gotta have it for short, or
acronym.
Vice versa there. Yeah, that's backwards. But put the ball in number 7's hands. And I think maybe we tried one kind of little kind of quarterback off tackle there, but run a zone read, create an extra blocker, do something to let Kevin run the ball in those situations, especially whenever the game's on the line, because when you have the running back blocking, you do get that extra blocker. And I think that makes things, get him out in space. Maybe there's a situation where it's either RJ or run. And we've gotten taken off the field each time we've needed first downs to win the game. And that's how close those football games are, from SMU to being 5-3 to 7-1.
Yep.
So,
and feeling a lot better about ourselves. Was it week 9 or 10 now? But unfortunately, the game does come down to a few plays like we've been talking about, and the defense made a lot of great plays, but that one play ultimately decides that ball game. And their kicker comes in, props to him, and kudos to Wake for playing the way they did. But the kicker comes in and bangs a 50-yarder for the win, and somehow manages to sneak it over the goalpost, but hits the mat.
That was wild.
I've never seen that before.
I thought when it hit the pad that it was short.
Yeah, I did too. But kudos to them. That's a tough, heartbreaking loss for SMU. Unfortunately, it seems like we're going to need some help in conference play to get back to the conference championship. We'll see how that plays out. But most importantly, the guys get another chance this Saturday. Miami coming to town. Wash this one away. My quarterback coach in high school always told me the next play is the most important one. The next game is the most important. We can learn from everything in high school. Bill Poe.
Shout out to Bill Poe.
Yep, I think he's still coaching at Northwest, coaching the Texans, but great man, great coach. But the next play is always the most important. We get another opportunity on Saturday, and hopefully the guys learn from it and have a great week of practice and go beat a ranked Miami team and get back on track.
Yeah. Quickly before we roll into our trip around college football, talk about the NCAA at large. Thank you to Socorro Tequila, who of course sponsors our Padron shot of the game, sort of. And as always, go visit Roback and use code Pony20 for 20% off.
Well played.
Yeah.
Well played. I will throw, not that we should have a Padron shot this week. I think we're drinking for the wrong reasons, but Padron shot of the game is really the only highlight on the offense.
I sure was on
KJ to RJ at the request of Garrett Gilbert, taking one over the top for 49 yards. Unfortunately, we settled for a field goal, but that was a highlight in the game offensively, and would be remiss if we didn't give KJ and RJ their due there. But yeah, let's take a peek around the country and let you run with it. Had a good slate this weekend.
Yeah, there sure was. I think to start with, got to give a shout out again to the Aggies. Now up to they didn't jump Indiana. No. They're still number 3 in the nation, but 49-25 win. They got old Brian Kelly fired, and as I always say, no better job in the world than to be a fired football coach. That $59 million buyout probably going to treat him pretty well over the next few years.
I saw his agent said that he is likely to enjoy the $50 million and never coach again.
Well, good for him, I suppose. We had Ole Miss go into Norman and win a thriller. I was not watching, frankly, this game much because I was tuned into the barn burner that was SMU Wake Forest. But Ole Miss scored the final final 9 points to win 34-26 on the road against Oklahoma. And looks like, obviously, this is potentially a couple weeks late, but the John Mateer Heisman campaign is probably dead. I think he's not been the same player since he hurt his hand, unfortunately. Our next opponent, Miami, which we'll talk about in the Pat and Go, but they were struggling mightily against Stanford, 7-7 at halftime. And I'm a little mad about this because I had Stanford plus 29.5, and they didn't cover by losing the second half 35-0. So
somebody called Chauncey Billups.
Yeah, well, too soon. Vanderbilt with a 17 late score to and stop to topple Missouri 17-10.
Won by a yard.
Yeah, they sure did. And that, I think. Oh, and Texas for the state of Texas kind of, I don't know, gets away with murder, skates by, finds a way, 45-38 in overtime. Sort of a miraculous comeback where everything sort of fell their way in the fourth quarter. Another one where, Mississippi State just gets a first down here or there and the game is over. So, that situational stuff is so incredibly important, and finding a way to get first downs when you need them is how you win football games.
Yep. Yeah. I think one that you did not hit was Houston knocked off number 24 Arizona State on the road. I think Arizona State had a 10-game home winning streak, broke that streak, and I believe they're now 5-3. So probably diminishes their playoff chances. And then Belichick actually had a chance to beat, I think they were number 16 or 17, Virginia, ACC play. Virginia goes to UNC and wins 17-16 in overtime.
That was a heck of a game, and North Carolina was about that far from winning the game. They just decided to go for two in the first overtime to try to win it. Which, yeah, I mean, I love it, and I think I'm partial to Coach Belichick just because I got to play for him more than a few times. Couldn't stay away up there, but I think why not? You got a chance to win the game, and you got a 2-point play you feel good about. Then they got darn close. So hopefully they've been more and more competitive each week. So hopefully they keep playing better. Just because I think it's good for football.
Agreed. I like seeing Belichick in the college game. Hopefully he can get that ship turned around. Let's take a peek into next week. Obviously, we'll get on the Pat and Go, break down SMU, number 10 Miami coming to the Ford. Number 9 Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia goes to Austin, take on the Longhorns. Number 20. I feel like UT should drop out of the rankings after last week's performance, but that's all right.
And yet,
I'm going to call an upset alert. We got Kansas State hosting number 12 Texas Tech. Saw Tech's quarterback tore his ACL. I'm not sure if Baron Morton's back or not, but I think everything that we've seen about Kansas State for the last several years is the Little Apple is a tough place to play. Their fans show up, so I'm calling upset KSU over Tech. Number 18.
A lot of interceptions in my day up in the Little Apple.
Been there.
Yeah.
Number 18 OU, they travel to Knoxville to take on number 14 Tennessee. And then another Big 12 matchup, number 17 Cincinnati will travel to Salt Lake City and take on number 24 Utah.
Some good action. We will be back with you guys very shortly for a Pat and Go.
Pony up.
A somber pony up to sign off.
Wow.